Hi, my name is Ron Plouffe, and I am the developer of this, the StoryHow pitch deck, a deck of cards that helps you convert a business idea, message, or presentation into a story. I created this little video to give you some insight into how the deck works. So let's take a look. The StoryHow pitch deck is based on a fundamental principle. A story is the result of people pursuing what they want. The StoryHow pitch deck consists of 60 cards, split evenly into 4 15-card suits. You already know the first 3 suits. If we go back to what we had said before, a story is the result of people pursuing what they want. A story is the result, the events that happen, and we have a suit for events. People are roles, and we have a roles suit. And last but not least, there's what they want, the influence suit. So the basic elements of a story are roles, events, and influences. And we have this last suit here, the techniques. And techniques are used to move these story elements around. Now each card is designed the same way, with a definition, examples, and a call to action. Now let's look at this one card, the Big Idea card. Notice that it has the 3 sections, a definition, examples, and a call to action. Let's read the card. So for the definition, it says, the big idea is the overarching concept that your story is built to support. It will be pushed, pulled, diced, sliced, and tested throughout the duration of your story. To find your big idea, ask, what's my core message? Why should the audience care? What are the counter arguments to my message? Now the next section would be the examples. Big ideas frequently take the form of simple 3-word sentences that describe something that increases or decreases. Delays increase risk. Conservation decreases waste. Triage saves lives. Speed kills teenagers. And the last section is the call to action, the little exercise that you should probably go through in order to create, in this example, the big idea. Craft a simple 3-word sentence to describe the big idea your story must convey. All the cards have these basic 3 elements, and so once you know one card, you know the rest. There's a reason why I called out the Big Idea card, and it's because the StoryHow pitch deck is designed to take an idea, a message, or a presentation and turn it into a story. Well, the good news is if you have a big idea, you can do that. If you don't though, no idea, no story. So I always recommend that you start with the Big Idea card, make sure that you have your big idea, and then we can go into the rest of the deck to create your story. Okay, now let's assume that you have your big idea. Now let's see if we can develop the story. But the question is, where do you start? There are 59 other cards, and that may sound intimidating. It probably is intimidating. So what I've done is I've actually pulled out the first 2 cards of each suit, and I call that the starter hand. We've made the starter hand very easy to identify. If you take a look at the cards, you'll notice that there are some cards have white backs and some cards have gray backs. The 8 starter hand cards all have white backs. So just find the white cards, pull them out, and we have the starter hand. The starter hand consists of the first 2 cards of each suit. There are 2 role cards, audience and protagonist. You need to know who you're talking to, your audience. And the protagonist, who is going to be the hero of your story. And here's a little hint. If you think it's your product or service, you're wrong. Then there are the event cards. The event cards are the initial impulse and the ending. You need to know what happened to kickstart your story. Nothing happens until something changes. What happened? Did your customer all of a sudden find themselves in a situation where they needed to do something? Do they need to increase sales? Do they need to reduce costs? What happened? What changed? What kicked off your story? And then there's the ending. If you don't know where you're going, you'll never get there. And so by using these 2 cards, we can now plot our way from point A to point B. The next 2 cards are the influence cards. There's Jeopardy and emotional choice. In business, we tend to not think about the emotional aspect of decisions, but there's a fundamental truth that people buy on emotion and justify with logic. And so we need to address that emotion in the decision. The Jeopardy card actually talks about some of that emotion. What is the risk that we are expecting our customer or the person we're trying to convince to do something to accept what we're selling? There is some risk. Perhaps the person doesn't have budget. Perhaps they have to steal budget from another pet project in order to buy your product or service. Well, that means that they can't do their other project. There are risks. What are they? And also think about the emotion that is behind those. And last but not least are the two technique cards, the purpose and the meaning. The purpose is for you. What is the purpose of you telling this story? Why are you doing it? What are you expecting at the end of it? What is the outcome that you need? And then there's the meaning. That's for your audience. That's not for you. What does this presentation or this idea or this concept mean to them? From their perspective, what does it mean to them? And that's it. The big idea and the starter hand help frame your story. Then you can use the remaining 51 cards to add details, depth, and nuances to your story. It all comes down to a story is the result of people pursuing what they want. In this story, I want you to become a better communicator. I created the StoryHow pitch deck to do exactly that. If you already have a copy of the StoryHow pitch deck, thank you so much and dive right in. And if you don't and you'd like your own copy, click on the button below this video and it'll take you right to Amazon.com and you can purchase your own. Thank you for listening, and I hope that the StoryHow pitch deck serves you well for your entire career.